through you from United Nations Kenya, and I'm sure from the Kenyan government, to the United States government and people for this enormous solidarity. And let me use this also as an occasion to appeal to all partners, as His Excellency the President has done, to dig deeply. This drought continues to bite very hard, and Kenya remains a hair's breadth away from famine. We've marked some very significant successes today.
We now welcome the Ukrainian ambassador, His Excellency Andriy.
Honorable Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, Your Excellencies, dear participants. A little more than a year ago, when Russia launched its brutal and unprovoked military aggression against my country, many politicians and experts predicted that Ukraine will be crushed in few weeks. But we are still standing as free and independent nation, and our resolve to bring aggressor to justice and liberate all the occupied territories is unbending. Today, historic day, as we gather to mark the arrival to Kenya of the first ship with 25,000 metric tons of Ukrainian wheat procured from Mombasa sister city Odessa, with grain from Ukraine humanitarian program, which has been initiated by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, in November last year. The program is aimed to feed 5 million people in Africa and Asia during this year. For now, 30 countries have joined the Grain from Ukraine initiative, which have already raised around $200 million. We have already sent 140,000 tons of Ukrainian grain to countries which need it most. Shipment to Kenya was made possible due to consistent and steadfast efforts of World Food Programme and 8 European donor countries represented today by distinguished ambassadors or diplomats. We would like to thank you all for joining hands and making this great contribution to the drought response efforts of the Kenyan government possible, as millions of people in Kenya are suffering from extreme food insecurity due to severe drought and galloping food prices. Prior to 2022, Ukraine was one of the main suppliers of grain for the World Food Programme and the fourth largest grain exporter globally. Our agriculture was heavily damaged by Russian invasion. Missile strikes and shelling by Russian troops has destroyed dozens of farms, stocks of food and seed silos, warehouses, oil deposits, agricultural machinery and equipment. Millions of hectares of agricultural land are occupied or mined. Our farmers suffer from lack of fertilizers, market volatility, low purchasing prices and broken logistic chains. Notwithstanding these difficulties, we are determined to remain a guarantor of global food security and feed the people of the world. Even as our own people are bleeding and dying, it's not only our responsibility, but also sincere feeling from our hearts. Since in 1932 and 1933, Ukraine suffered from Holodomor, death by hunger, imposed by our country by Stalin regime. Despite all the Russian pressure, Black Sea grain corridor brokered by the UN Secretary General and President of Turkey on July 22 last year continues its operation. It is important to keep this food lifeline intact and fast. Because of the inspection delays by the Russian team in Joint Coordination Center in Istanbul, export of agricultural products by the grain corridor does not exceed 3.4 million tons per month, despite our ability to give the world 6 million tons monthly. As a result of Russian actions, there are constant queues of more than 100 vessels, and Ukrainian ports face the problem of shortage of new fleet for loading. We ask the Kenya government and all our partners to continue speaking in one voice in support of Ukraine, demanding removal of obstacles for the functioning of Black Sea grain corridor, and restoring peace in Ukraine based on the principles of the UN Charter and UN General Assembly's resolution adopted on February 28, 2023, and supported by 141 countries, including Kenya, which demands that Russia immediately, completely, and unconditionally withdraw all its military forces from the territory of Ukraine. Today's event gives us a beam of hope. Hope that we can together solve our problems and make this world a better place. So let us celebrate this success and continue working hard to bring relief to those who are desperate, to those who suffer, and in need of our help. Thank you very much for your attention.
We'll now invite the Ukraine Goodwill Ambassador, followed by 2 representatives of group of 8 donors.
His Excellency, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, His Excellency, Her Excellency, Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano, and other Cabinet Secretaries and Permanent Secretaries here present, members of the Government of the Republic of Kenya, and other dignitaries, Her Excellency, Ambassador Meg Whitman, Ambassador of the United States of America to Kenya, His Excellency, Ambassador Andrei Prevetnik, Ambassador of Ukraine to Kenya, Her Excellency, the High Commissioner of the UK and Ireland to Kenya, and the other 7 ambassadors representing the 8 countries that have contributed to the current delivery of grain from Ukraine to the people of Kenya. All protocols observed, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Goodwill Ambassadors of the Grain from Ukraine Initiative, and as a son of the African continent, I am deeply honored to be with you today on behalf of the Goodwill Ambassadors to say thank you to the people of Ukraine, to President Zelensky and his entire government for their fortitude and for their generosity of spirit. As we all know, there comes a time when a man is down and a people and a population are down, all too often not through any fault of theirs. That is what our brothers and sisters here in Kenya are going through because of the drought. It is always heartwarming when a brother, a sister, a friend raises a finger to lend a hand. It is extraordinarily moving, uplifting, when that finger and that hand comes from a people that are themselves going through extremely challenging moments as our brothers and sisters in Ukraine dealing with a war that has been imposed on them. As some of you may be aware, in November 2022, a few months after the signing of the Black Sea Agreement, President Volodymyr Zelensky decided to nominate to create the International Coordination Group for the Prevention of Hunger, which is a pool of goodwill ambassadors in which he's got 4 African leaders. In many ways, and to his wisdom, he was with a lot of foresight indicating what we hear now more frequently than ever before from countries in the global south, which is to say that even in your goodness, there should be nothing about us without us. So our group of 4 African leaders that are goodwill ambassadors for the Grain from Ukraine initiative is led by the former president of Malawi, former President Dr. Joyce Banda. She would very much have loved to be with you today. In fact, she planned to be here for this event. But as we all know, just last week, Cyclone Freddy hit Mozambique, Malawi, Madagascar, and caused devastation across the neighboring country of Malawi. She is today, as we speak, in Zumba, which is in the southern part of the country, coordinating relief efforts there as well. So I will ask that as we celebrate the delivery for Kenya, we also keep our thoughts and prayers with our brothers and sisters in Malawi. I would also like to ask, even more importantly, that we keep our thoughts and our prayers with our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. That each and every one of us, in our prayers or in our official duties for those that represent nation states, would work as best they can to bring this war to an end, so that the people of Ukraine can regain a sense of normalcy in their lives, but also so that the government of Ukraine under President Zelensky can continue to play its positive role around the world as an actor for good, to help the world be a guarantor of food security, which is now a priority as declared by the United Nations for the world and especially for this continent. I would just like to finish by thanking Dr. Stephen Jackson and the whole UN system, as well as Lauren and all of the colleagues of the World Food Programme for having accepted to be the linchpin of this operation, because it is going to be by your efficiency and your effectiveness that we can guarantee that this goodwillness gesture, this act of global solidarity, would actually be delivered to the populations that are the most vulnerable. I want to thank you for your time and attention.
Your Excellency, allow me now to invite the ambassador of the Kingdom of Norway.
Your Excellency, Deputy President, CS is present, Permanent Secretary is present, colleagues from embassies, Kenya Port Authorities, distinguished guests. It's a great honor to stand here today, because what we are part of today and what we have seen is solidarity. Solidarity between countries and between continents. Grain from Ukraine has already been said, a country that itself is dragged into a bloody war by the Russian invasion, and with the devastating humanitarian consequences following that. Transported to Kenya through support from partner countries present here today. I'm very proud to present Norway in this. Just a couple of days ago, the Norwegian Parliament approved a package of $500 million to support countries that are particularly hit by the effects of the Russian invasion. $500 million, that is, from a country of 5 million people, it's quite substantial. The package was named the Nansen package, named after the great Norwegian humanitarian Dr. Fridtjof Nansen, who played such a key role in fighting the devastating famine in Ukraine in 1932, as my friend the ambassador has already talked about. That is a fitting name for an expression of solidarity. So the US $5 million that Norway has provided to the transport of this is, in my eyes, a chain of solidarity that stretches back into time and to the present. Solidarity will still be needed, and it will continue. But there is one quick way to change the situation, so we all can go back to normal. Grain can come from Ukraine, fertilizer and seeds come from other countries. And that is for Russia to stop the war and pulling out of Ukraine completely. I thank you.
Your Excellency, the High Commissioner of the United Kingdom is in the house, and I now invite her.
Thank you very much, CS. Your Excellency, Deputy President Gachagua, Cabinet Secretaries Miano, Merkerman, PS, my fellow lovely, wonderful ambassadors, High Commissioners, particularly Andre, my Ukrainian colleague, As the CS mentioned, Norway and I are representing a wider group of 8 donors, which also includes the Netherlands, the Czech Republic, Norway, I've already mentioned, Italy, Belgium, Switzerland and Slovakia. And together we have provided funding for this Ukrainian grain that has come to Kenya. I very much appreciated C.S. Merkerman's comments that we are international partners. We need to move away, and we want to work with this government to move away from a donor need. And I'm very optimistic that the government can do so. So I consider myself your international partner, not a donor partner. The world, not just Kenya, is facing a series of tough economic decisions and circumstances resulting in the rising cost of living globally. And we need to deal with these challenges responsibly, peacefully, and together, both within Kenya, where there are challenges to that, but within Kenya and across the globe. As well as assisting the Kenyan people as they tackle the harshest drought in living memory, the UK's contribution here is also a direct request from President Volodymyr Zelensky to assist him as he committed to his Grain from Ukraine initiative. This commitment to ensure that vital Ukrainian food supplies reach those nations in desperate need has been made in spite of the ongoing invasion and attacks within Ukraine. So as I witness this ceremony, I also hope to represent the UK's continued commitment to stand with Ukraine as it defends itself from Russia's aggression. We are in our 5th year of drought, season drought. This initiative will join others that the UK is currently engaged in, including supporting UNICEF's Child Nutrition Programme, assisting 35,000 children to date, and working with the Kenyan government on the Hunger Safety Net Programme, reaching over 500,000 people in drought-affected areas through cash transfers. We're also aware of the droughts affecting Kenya's neighbours and the subsequent increase in climate refugees, which Kenya is generously supporting. We continue to support both refugees and host communities through our UNHCR implementing promotion programme, and hope that the portion of grain distributed in Kakuma and Dadaab refugee camps will go some way to alleviate the suffering there. So thank you for giving me the chance to attend today. I'm humbled by the incredible work and thoughtfulness that has gone into this, particularly from WFP and our friends from Ukraine. So I hope we can continue to work together on this with our wider work in food security to make a meaningful difference in partnership with our Kenyan brothers and sisters. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, I recognize the presence of the World Food Programme representative, country director, and invite her here. Welcome, Lorraine Landis.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, Deputy President, all the CSs and PSs present here today, the Chairman of the Port Authority of Kenya and our Kenya Port Managing Director, as well as all of our ambassadors who have joined us here today, and of course our where would we be without our resident coordinator of the UN? Ladies and gentlemen, all observed. You know, as I was looking through my speech, I've decided that most of it has already been said today. And that really, my job is just so much to say thank you. As the country director here in Kenya for the food program, I just want to say how honored I am that all of you come today and join us in this very important ceremony. In particular, I'd like to give a real big round of thanks to our colleagues from the Kenya Port Authority and from the management of grain bulk handlers who allowed us to use their facility and facilitated all of the arrangements for this event. Thank you so much. I'll give them a big round of applause. As has been so eloquently said by our resident coordinator and many of you today, we are celebrating two very large contributions that have already been flagged off by His Excellency the Deputy President, and will quickly, already in trucks, moving to the northern parts of this country to deal with severe food insecurity. It is worth, though, repeating some of the things that have been said already. First of all, the 16,136 metric tons of sorghum, the very, very generous contribution of the people of America has been flagged off today. This sorghum will change the lives, will save the lives of so many Kenyans as it moves to respond to the very biting drought that we've heard about today. As has been said already, the U.S. has provided more than $230 million towards just the World Food Program for hunger related to drought, for resilience programs, and also assistance to refugees. And has already been said, this is more than 80% of the contributions that we have received. I just want to say it is appreciated so much by WFP, and I'm sure by the people of Kenya as well. The amazing support from the U.S. combined with the impressive efforts of the government of Kenya, from the community to the county to the national level, has assured that we have not had loss of life in Kenya despite 5 failed rainy seasons. As you will remember, in the past, droughts that have lasted far less have caused far more concerns and loss of life. So we're doing something right. We're responding in a timely manner, and we're responding jointly as a partnership, bringing all of us together, again from the community to the national level, and this has really made the difference. Additionally, today we are witnessing the arrival of the 25,000 metric tons of wheat from the Grain for Ukraine. Since the signing of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, WFP has transported more than 481,000 metric tons of wheat from Ukraine. 16 WFP chartered vessels have sailed under the initiative in support of WFP operations in Ethiopia, Yemen, Afghanistan, Somalia, and now Kenya. This is made possible, of course, by Ukraine, but has already been said today by so many donors who have stepped up with swift and unwavering support, including all of the ambassadors who you see here today. This 25,000 metric tons is the first shipment for humanitarian purposes to reach Kenya under the initiative. But I'm optimistic with the agreement having been signed again over the weekend for at least another 120 days that we may again see yet another shipment ready and moving towards Kenya. I feel that these shipments are particularly focused on the most vulnerable and that have been impacted by high food prices, drought, and the aftermath of conflict. So I'll stop there and pretty much say the World Food Program is so thankful for all the support we have seen from our donors, from the government of Kenya, and from our partners inside and outside the UN. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, allow me to now present the U.S. Ambassador, Her Excellency Meg Whitman, to make her remarks.
Well, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, and all assembled distinguished guests, all protocols observed. It is great to be in Mombasa today to turn over 16,000 metric tons of sorghum to the Kenyan people as part of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, brokered by the UN Secretary General and Turkey back in July of 2022. Under this initiative, more than 24 million metric tons of grain and oilseeds have already been shipped worldwide, including humanitarian aid via the World Food Program for more than 800 million of the world's most food insecure people. And the United States is, as always, proud to support these initiatives. You know, a number of our distinguished guests today have mentioned this, but the impact of Russia's war on Ukraine has had devastating consequences, not only obviously for the people of Ukraine and Europe, but for millions around the globe facing food insecurity. Coupled with the 5 consecutive failed rainy seasons, where an estimated 5.4 million people are projected to need food assistance by the end of June, these effects have been experienced right here in Kenya. The world is an interconnected place, isn't it? Countless lives have been saved through the generosity of the American people, many other NGOs and governments around the world. But there is much, much more to do. So the United States is trying to expand our long-standing work with countries around the world to make global food systems more resilient to shifting climates and to improve supply chains. The recently launched U.S. Vision for Adapted Crops and Soils will help Africa achieve a more food-secure future by identifying the most nutritious crops in Africa and examining how they respond to extreme climate events to provide African policymakers with the information that can drive crop adaptation research and investment. You know, as more and more people face emergency levels of food insecurity, additional support is going to be required from donors, the private sector, and governments across the world. And the Black Sea Grain Initiative is essential to millions of people worldwide. Many of you and the United States supported the UN Secretary General in his efforts to ensure the deal was renewed, and we are delighted to see that it was extended for another 120 days. As U.S. Representative to the United Nations said on March 17th at a UN Security Council briefing on the humanitarian situation in Ukraine, as long as Russia continues to blockade Ukraine's ports, the world needs the Black Sea Grain Initiative. The Black Sea Grain Initiative slashes global food prices. It calms market volatility. It ameliorates global food insecurity. And it saves lives. It must continue reliably and sustainably. The bottom line is that the world needs Ukrainian grain, and we are all better off when Ukrainian grain gets to the world market. Thank you very much for having me today, and thanks for joining in this wonderful celebration. Thank
you. Your Excellency, we appreciate that droughts may recur, and therefore the humanitarian assistance we seek today should be considered a stopgap measure. What we need are long-term measures that will avert the emergency the current situation has thrust us into. We invite you all to join us in putting in place long-term measures to achieve this noble quest. Together, we can help affected communities to bounce back and build greater resilience, to caution the vulnerable from the vagaries of droughts that may occur even in future. With that, my other cabinet colleague, Minister for Education, is with us. I will invite him to just greet all of us and thereafter invite His Excellency, the Deputy President, to address us. Welcome, Waziri.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Gachagua, Your Excellencies, the Ambassadors, the Country Director of World Food Program, my two cabinet colleagues and the permanent secretaries here present. Your Excellency, we thank the development partners so much because they have worked with us in this particular program that we find ourselves in as a country. And in education, Your Excellency, I want in a very special way to convey my very sincere thanks to the development partners, because it's one such area that we have had a very adverse and devastating effect on our school-going children, because the number that we were dealing with in school feeding program was 1.9 million, and the number, because of the kind of situation we had in, has increased over the time, and we are now talking of about 3.2 million school-going children, and it is affecting accessibility, it is affecting quality, it is affecting retention in schools. But as Kenya government, we have allocated funds towards this, and we thank World Food Program, because in the last meeting, Your Excellency, you remember that they did agree that they will also be able to come in with all the development to address all of us. Welcome, Your Excellency, the Deputy President. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. The Cabinet Secretary for East African Community Affairs and Asals, Rebecca Miano. The Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport, my younger brother Kipchumba Murkomen. The CS for Education, Ezekiel Machogu. The Principal Secretary is present. The Ambassador of the United States of America, Her Excellency Meg Whitman. The Ambassador of Ukraine, His Excellency Ambassador Adril. The High Commissioner of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Her Excellency Jane Marriott. The Ambassador of the Kingdom of Norway, His Excellency Ambassador Gunnar Holm. The Ambassador of the Kingdom of Belgium, Ambassador Peter Madens. The Ambassador of the Czech Republic, His Excellency Martin Kiplector. The First Secretary, Food Security and Water, Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands. The United Nations Resident Coordinator in Kenya, Dr. Stephen Jackson. The World Food Program Country Director, Lorraine Landis. The Kenya Ports Authority Board of Directors, the Managing Director, Captain William Ruto. The members of the fourth estate, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The MD of the premises here had a problem with my name. I am Rigathi Gachagua. It's a difficult name, and the young people, in their creative and innovative nature, summarized it as Rigji, so you could as well use that one to make it much easier for you. This indeed is a high-power delegation of ambassadors and high commissioners in one function. The delegation underscores the importance of this meeting, of receiving and flagging off 25,000 metric tons of wheat, a generous contribution from the people of the United Kingdom, Norway, Belgium, Italy, Netherlands, Switzerland, Slovenia, and the Czech Republic through our long-standing partner, the World Food Program. Allow me to acknowledge in a very special way Ambassador Adril and the great people of Ukraine, a country of gallant, resilient, and industrious farmers who have stood against all odds of war to feed the world, Kenya included. Please applaud the people of Ukraine. Ambassadors, distinguished guests, the food has been delivered in response to our national and international appeal for relief assistance in saving lives and livelihoods in emergency or high alert. On behalf of President William Ruto and the people of the Republic of Kenya, we sincerely thank you all who have made it possible for us to receive such a single but mammoth consignment. We also thank the government of the United States through USAID, which has donated more than US $277 million and another $60 million in food to Kenya through the World Food Program. This has been going on for the last 1 year, complementing our efforts of countering famine, a national disaster due to prolonged drought and the effects of climate change. Across the board, the United States of America is providing about 80% of all the humanitarian assistance to the current food crisis. Ambassador Meg, on behalf of President William Ruto and the government and the people of Kenya, through you, please accept our very sincere gratitude to the United States of America and its people for the assistance that you have given to this country in very difficult times. Asante sana balozi. Ambassadors, distinguished guests, the donation we flag off today is a shot in the arm when at least 5.4 million Kenyans are facing starvation. We have also lost more than 2.6 million livestock. Children under 5 years and expectant and lactating mothers face malnutrition. Millions of lives and livelihoods are at stake. With this delivery in a few days, that one expectant mother in Turkana or Tana River will have food in her plate. In a few days, that one lactating mother in Marsabit or Mandera will have food for her family and milk for her baby. In a few days, that one child in Samburu or Kitui will sleep with a full stomach. We look forward to more support, even as we receive a shipment of 16,000 metric tons of sorghum from the United States of America through USAID. Ambassadors, distinguished guests, this assistance also comes when the World Food Program is about to roll out the Lisha Jamii Phase 2 program from April to September 2023. The Director of World Food Program, subsequent to the meeting we had last week, that is why the Minister of Education is in tow. Just when you see him, you remember what we agreed, that we need to put a little bit more effort to the schools through the feeding program for the schools so that we can keep our children in school. The Kenya shilling 7 billion project will offer monthly food assortments, cash or both, to about 1 million Kenyans facing starvation in 10 counties. The counties are Turkana, Marsabit, Samburu, Isiolo, Tana River, Baringo, Kitui, Wajir, Garissa, and Mandela. Again, the Director of World Food Program will be making a request that you consider. There are counties in non-ASAL areas that are facing difficult situations similar to what is happening in these counties. We have some areas in the counties of Nyeri, counties of Kiambu, counties of Murang'a, the county of Migori, where we have pockets that have similar climatic conditions as in those ASAL counties. So we'll be making a request to the World Food Program to consider non-traditional, non-ASAL areas that have not been receiving support from the World Food Program to be considered, because the people in those counties are saving similar conditions and they are also facing hunger and starvation. The government of Kenya appreciates this support, which is an enhancement of the Lisha Jamii Phase 1, which has benefited 89,000 households in 12 counties since July 2022. To all friends of Kenya, and as Ambassador Jane Marriott suggests, the international partners, we want to say a big thank you. Asanteni sana. Ambassadors, distinguished guests, where rains have been reported in parts of the country, projections from the Kenya Meteorological Department paint a grim year 2023. It may not be a normal March, May enhanced rain, but irregular and depressed. This means food security is threatened for a couple of months ahead. That is why the government has committed at least 23.96 billion Kenya shillings for drought response between April and October 2023. Some of the targeted activities are relief food, water trucking, distilling boreholes, livestock feeds, and offtake programs, among others. Ambassadors, distinguished guests, With the advent of the rains, those pass, we look forward to an enhanced food security before the end of the year. We are banking on farmers from 16 maize-producing counties who have received subsidized fertilizer to inject their harvest into the supply chain within 6 months or so. We encourage farmers to consider quick maturing and drought-tolerant crops for an assured harvest amidst the uncertainty of the rains. Meanwhile, we have waived import duty to allow for millers to bring in 900,000 metric tons of white maize, 600,000 metric tons of rice between February 2023 and August 2023. These stocks will plug in the deficit until the next harvest. In addition, we have also allowed importation of duty-free yellow maize to assist millers of animal feeds so that they stop competing with human beings for the white maize. So we expect the millers of animal feeds to take advantage of that facility that has been accorded by government to import yellow maize so that they can be able to give our livestock farmers feeds at a slightly lower price. Well, these short-term and mid-term responses remain key. We are scaling up resilient interventions alongside our partners, like the World Food Program, which is working with smallholder farmers in building a strong food security system. We welcome more support on resilience from our partners. We are also encouraging our people to grow more trees during these rains as a sustainable measure against climate change. If we must defeat climate change and its negative effects, it is befitting to grow at least a tree a day towards our goal of 15 billion trees by the year 2032. We also encourage farmers to adopt smart agriculture, which involves integrating simple technology into their work for better harvest. Ambassadors, distinguished guests, as I conclude, I wish to point out that the school meal program, which was initially supported by the World Food Program, continues to be beneficial since its handover in 2018. It is, however, facing challenges in reach. It is as a result that we had a very meaningful engagement with the director of the World Food Program and our team to see how to address this shortcoming. Currently, we reach about 2.5 million learners, but we wish to scale it up, resources permitting. While the UN agency has committed to support us in resource mobilization to reach more children, we appeal to other international partners to join us in keeping our children in school. It is one of the greatest ways of securing their future. Thank you, and God bless you. I want to add 3 things only very shortly. One is to say that on his ascendancy to the presidency, President William Ruto tasked my office with the role of coordinating response to the drought situation. And I really want to take this moment to thank all the stakeholders, our international partners, the county governments, the World Food Program, the Kenya Red Cross, all other humanitarian organizations that we have been working with. I want to thank Dr. Jackson of the UN office for the support. And I must say that difficult as things have been, we have not lost a single life because of famine. And I want to say, I really want to thank all the stakeholders for the support that you have accorded me in that role of coordinating the drought response so that we can look for ways to keep our people alive and try to protect livelihoods. I want to thank you, and I want to ask for continued support as we go into the future. Number 2, I want to make a special appeal to our international partners to consider chipping in on the school feeding program as a way of keeping our children in school. As it is, many children have left school because of hunger, and one of the ways to secure their future and keep our education system going is to avail food in school. So that is a special appeal that I want to make to our partners to consider how they can help us in that particular aspect. Finally, I want to assure the people of Kenya that the country is stable. President William Ruto is in charge of the country. And I want to say that the situation that we are facing today in Nairobi, life goes on, that is why we are here. Many Kenyans are going about their lives, and we are happy that most Kenyans trusted the government that will protect life and property, and they have gone to work. And they have ignored the illegal declaration of a holiday that cannot be. Nevertheless, quite a number of business people in the Central Business District in Nairobi did not open their shops and businesses, arising from fear of looting and destruction of property, having considered what happened in Kisumu, where the Azimio people looted tents, chairs, and food, and Azimio people were threatening business people not to open by threatening that they will loot their wares. As a result, this morning, because of lack of business in the CBD, the country has lost almost 2 billion shillings in terms of business. And this is money that should have been circulating in the economy. We want to urge these people to consider this afternoon to call off the chaos, the mayhem, the intimidation, because what they are doing is destroying our economy. The economy had begun showing signs of recovery, and we were getting a lot of affirmation from international financial players and no other partners. But the events that are being organized by the opposition is not good for business, it's not good for the economy, and we want to ask the organizers to consider this afternoon to call off the mayhem and the chaos so that those who did not open their businesses and shops can go back to work this afternoon. But I want to assure the people of Kenya that President William Ruto has given very firm and clear instructions to the Inspector General of Police to protect life and property. And as this afternoon, the police have taken charge of the Central Business District. No life has been lost, no property has been destroyed, and those activities will continue for the remainder of the day, tomorrow, the day after, the weeks to come, the months to come. We have a responsible government in office who have a constitutional duty to protect life and property. So we urge the people of Kenya to ignore being incited into violence and destruction of property, because it's not good for the economy, it's not good for the country. And we want to thank those who are courageous enough to ignore threats and intimidation and to go about their businesses in another manner. We have a country to run, and we want to ask those who are organizing demonstrations, those who are organizing chaos, those who are organizing mayhem, to be decent people. They cannot ask the children of poor people to get involved in violence when their own children are in safety in the East African Legislative Assembly in Arusha. It is not fair, it is not right. If they are so persuaded that people need to go to the streets and cause chaos and mayhem, they should ask their children to be in the forefront so that if there are issues, their children can bear the consequences. But it is not right, it is not fair for you to ask the children of other people to go and cause chaos and mayhem where your own children are safe in another country, enjoying the perks and the luxuries of the jobs that you have given them. It is not fair, it is not right. So with those very many remarks, I want to say thank you everybody for coming to be with us here in Mombasa. We want to thank the grain bag handlers for very efficient way you are handling the grain, and we want to urge you to continue. And maybe before I close, I want also to take this opportunity to say that the Kenya Ports Authority has undergone serious changes in terms of management. We have a new board of directors, and a new chief executive officer has been appointed. The new team has instructions from the Minister for Transport to inject efficiency in this port, to do away with the bureaucracy, to make this port a corruption-free zone. We want this port to be the destination of choice in Africa. And we have no doubt in our mind, and we want to applaud the board of directors for the choice of Captain William Ruto, who has institutional memory and a proven track record of managing this port. And the government is happy because the reaction we have gotten from the stakeholders, from the dock worker union, from the clearing and forwarding group, from the shipment agencies and everybody, the appointment of Captain Ruto has been taken very positively, and we believe that the new management will inject efficiency in this port. And we want to tell the new managers of this port to know that you are in competition with our neighbors. So you don't have a monopoly. The only way to stay in business is for you to be efficient and to have a seamless way of managing this port in an efficient, less and less expensive, so that you can attract more business. So with those very remarks, I want to say thank you. May God bless you and bless you abundantly. Asanteni sana.